guys, thanks again for stopping by Pure Dating. I'm Nino and we're changing the world's dating system. Today, of course, is part 4 of our audio sermon series called Sex and Dating. But before I give a brief introduction to that sermon, I want to share some really good news with you guys. So there is a Christian magazine, it's a fairly large Christian magazine, online Christian magazine, that contacted Pure Dating, and they'd like me to do some articles for that magazine, which I'm really excited about. I'm going to do that. Once they start publishing those articles, I'll put a link in the description of our future videos so you guys can check those out. And secondly, another really exciting thing is a internet radio channel also discovered Pure Dating, contacted me and would like to interview me on one of their radio shows. So I'm going to do it, and I thought you guys would want to know about that. Once I do that interview, it'll probably be in April, I'll let you know, and I will put a link in the description of future videos so you guys can check out that radio program. Really excited, and it's going to be great. In the prior videos, I've talked a lot about really God's order in dating, spirit, soul, body, and how that corresponds to dating, engagement, and marriage. And what happens when you break God's order in dating? What happens if you put romance before commitment? Well, that's what this 4th part of our audio series is all about. I'm going to talk about the consequences that will happen in your life if you violate this order and you base a relationship upon romance and feelings rather than on a covenant of marriage. So I'm really excited about this 4th part. I pray that it will bless your life. Thanks again for stopping by, and have a great day.
Last week, I reminded you guys of the passage in Thessalonians where Paul prayed that you would be completely fulfilled, your spirit, soul, and body. Now remember what I taught you, that you are a spirit, you live in a body, and you have a soul. Your body is not who you are, it's a part of you, but it's not the eternal part of you. The eternal part of you is your spirit. You are a spirit. That's what you are. You're a spiritual creature. And you live in this earthly body from dust, right? From how God made Adam and Eve and made our bodies together out of the dust of the earth. And atoms and molecules. And I'll stop boring you with all the science, but that's what your body is. But you are a spirit. And you have a soul. That's the emotional part of you. The will, the mind, the emotions. Now, last week was very practical, right? And so I said, well, you see somebody that's really cute, you like them, they're nice, what do? What's the next step? Well, I said that before you date, I want to encourage you to look for 3 green lights. Let's look at those again. The first green light in review is you need to honestly ask yourself this question: am I ready to be married today? Am I ready to be married today? Is that something that I could do if the Lord would speak to me and to this guy I'm with or this girl? It's time to be married. Could you be married today? Are you ready emotionally, spiritually, financially? Second green light that I want you to look for is the approval and support of your parents or legal guardians. Christian mentors, godly friends that would have a perspective on this that you could really trust because you know they care about you. Remember I said when you like somebody, objectivity kind of flies away. Man, I know what it's like. When I was really starting to show some interest in Tammy, I wasn't very objective. And I am so glad that I had people in my life that could speak to me outside of my subjectivity and give me a real honest evaluation on our friendship. The third green light I want you to look for is this: watch, wait, and pray. And this is the hardest season, so if you've got the 2 green lights, then just watch, wait, and pray for a little bit. Don't be so quick to jump into it. Remember, over the last 3 weeks, I've taught you guys, this is so contrary to what we are taught in our music and our movies and our friends. You know, it's like first night, do everything you possibly can. What I'm saying is no, slow down. There's no rush. You're very young. You've got a lot of time, trust me. Some people say I'm still young. I don't feel young anymore. But I guess at 35, I'm still somewhat young. But at your age, you're very young. You don't need to rush this. Wait, pray, see what God is saying. This will probably be different for every person. It could be 5 weeks. It could be 5 months. It'll probably be more than one day. Don't come to me and say, hey, I watched, I waited, and I prayed yesterday. I'm set. This is God. Let's go for it. Well, just a little patience. And then finally in review, I talked about the dating phase. And this corresponds to spirit. You are a spirit. During the dating phase, Tammy and I focused on becoming closer to one another spiritually. Not sexually, not emotionally or romantically, but spiritually. Building her up as my sister in Christ. The number one reason you're with that person is to bring them closer to Jesus. That's the calling on your life. And also to determine if you could be married to that person. You're going to need to figure that out if you're going to pop the question. You need to know. So dating equals... So what do you do? And if I don't want to waste a lot of time on this, so get the MP3. It'll be on the website in a week or two. But we talked about different ideas of how to engage one another in this dating phase. The second, we left off there. The next phase is the engagement phase, and that corresponds to the soul. So let's say you've grown together spiritually, you become great friends, you are feeling like, wow, I could really spend my life with this person. I remember when I was feeling that about Tammy. I had a conversation yesterday with somebody that is at that stage, and they're feeling like it's about time that they're going to get married. They're pretty excited. I was really excited too. And so I proposed to Tammy. Popped the big question. Bought the ring. Put it in my pocket. Drove out to a lake right outside of Chelsea. It's the fall. It was autumn. The leaves were golden brown and yellow and just crimson. And they were on the ground. I remember them crunching as we walked through the leaves. I sat down with Tammy and I said, why don't we just sit here and just talk a little bit? I mean, I thought I had her tricked. She knew the whole time. She saw the ring in my pocket. I had it in the little case. So I managed to say, I had a big speech planned. It was going to just knock her over. It was beautiful. I couldn't remember it. I pretty much almost lost consciousness. I'm serious. Guys, just wait. Okay, wait. When you get on your knees, I'm like, oh my God. I mean, because, you thought about proposing to someone. When you really do it, it's like, it scares you. So I've managed to I love you or something, and I'd like to spend the rest of my life with you, and I think this is God's will. Will you marry me? And it was just so awkward. But she still liked me. That was a good thing. She started clapping. I think that meant yes. So I got excited. And I gave her the ring and put it on her hand. She looked at the diamond and really started clapping. And so we were engaged. Now, during this engagement, what we tried to do was slowly and gradually begin an emotional attachment. But I want to just give you some caution, kind of learn from my mistakes. You see, for Tammy and I, we had really focused on spiritually being close and had really attempted to be careful about being romantic or sexual in our dating relationship. And so when we got engaged, it was now okay to be emotional. So it was like a volcano that just erupted. And I remember one night I was Michigan Street. Man, I'm going to start telling stories. We're never going to get to the Q&A. But that's okay. This is a good story. I'm going to tell you, we're going to be a little longer today. And I was on the phone, and she was at her apartment on Tappan Street. It's a good thing she wasn't with me. And I thought, wow, I can say I love you now. And I hadn't said I love you until I was going to propose to her because I knew how that would attach her to me. So I said, well, I just want you to know I really love you. And she said, I love you too. And man, that felt so good. I said, well, I love you. And she said, I love you. And then I think I threw in like a couple babies and honeys, and man, the amore was flowing. And it was just like an explosion of romance. And what happened is we began to walk down that road, And our engagement was a very, very difficult time for us to maintain our purity because we had so crossed the line romantically that it was really tough to be pure. Now, it was by the grace of God that we were pure. And I'm so happy to say that He kept us pure. But it's nothing to do with me, trust me. It was to do with Him. And so I would say in this engagement, be careful, be slow, and don't be legalistic, be Spirit-led. There was times when the Holy Spirit would speak to me, you need to go home right now and not hug her. Just go. Because if you hug her, you're going to be picking her up and throwing her on the couch. So, sorry to be so blunt, but that's what I was feeling. So I had to be Spirit-led, right? Okay, it's not legalism. Don't be in that moment thinking, what did Nino say? What did Pastor Nino say? No, be led by the Spirit. If you really long to be pure, He will guide you. And then finally, the third phase corresponds to your body. And that, of course, is marriage. Now, that is where the process of sexual and romantic love begins. And that's where it began for us on our wedding night. And that's biblically when sexual love begins in the marriage. Now, this is so different from what you hear in our culture, in our movies and music. And I understand that. I'm a part of it. You guys know my story. I told you it very transparently. Why is this important? It's because of a word called covenant. Until you enter into that marriage agreement, you are not in a covenant with this other person. And when you do enter into that agreement with God and with this man or with this woman, you enter into a covenant with them. You are now in a spiritual covenant, and something supernatural happens. Genesis 2:24 says, and I actually have it on the inside of my ring here. I had it engraved. It says, if you could look at the inside of my ring, it says, it's really cheesy. TG, heart, NG. Oh, how sweet. That's Tammy, in case you're wondering. And then it says Genesis 2:24. Why does it say that, you ask? Let me tell you. Genesis 2:24 says, for this cause a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. And I look at this and I'm reminded that I am now one flesh with her, one spirit with her. We are one. We're in a covenant. I was a little worried that the jeweler was going to put verse 25 on there. Do you know what that says? And they both were naked, and they were not ashamed. I thought that'd be a strange scripture to have in your ring. It happened, but I didn't want it in my ring. Now, another thing, and then I just want to say a couple more things before we do Q&A. That was on the MP3, wasn't it? Hey, that's a free one. My neighbor the other day said, I downloaded your MP3s. I was trying to find that quote when you said something about peeing on you. He liked it. It's like, all right, I don't know what that means, but I said, those are last year's MP3s. Sorry. He's like, oh, I wonder why I couldn't find it. So sometimes things just come to me. Okay, finally, I just want to say one last thing. The sacredness of marriage. Really, guys, and I know this is so different from what's around us, but you need to hear me out on this and listen to what God's Word says. In Revelation, God says that when we are reunited with Christ one day, that will be like the marriage supper of the Lamb. So when Jesus comes for you and for His church, that is called a marriage. The reunification of the bride, which is the church, and the groom, which is Christ, is a marriage. Every earthly marriage that happens is a picture of that heavenly marriage. Every time a bride walks down the aisle to her groom, that is a picture of when Christ will wait for His church that will come to Him at the end of the ages. And just as the church is to be pure, so the groom and the bride in today's world is to be pure in marriage. You guys know that's why we have a white wedding gown. Did you guys know that? It's supposed to be a symbol of purity. It's not just our idea. That's biblical. It's what God has taught us. Now, you know, your flesh and Satan will try to reverse this order. Just be aware of that. Spirit, soul, body. What your flesh will do is go body, soul, spirit. First night, do what you can. Get romantic, get emotional first, and then the covenant comes. Here's the danger to that, and I want you to catch me, what I'm saying to you. Most relationships end in divorce today because their relationship is founded upon feelings and romance and not upon covenant. And so when you begin to date somebody and you begin to have sex or get sexual or emotional, you get close, that becomes the very foundation upon which that relationship is founded. And then you get married, and you have kids, and they begin to puke on you, and you change poopy diapers like this morning, and you wake up and your breath smells bad, and the man smells nasty, and the wife has bad breath, and you look at your life and you go, I just don't feel like I'm in love. You ever heard that? I don't understand what they're talking about fully. I kind of do because I used to live that way. But man, it was so long ago that I'm almost forgetting that. That was my life for 20 years. My relationships are grounded in emotion. And then when you don't feel in love, what do? You bail. Bail. Just like a lot of your parents did, right? A lot of you come from broken homes. And my dad was divorced. Tammy's parents were both divorced. We understand that. But see, a marriage is a covenant, and that covenant is what solidifies your marriage. It's what keeps you together. If I was in a terrible car accident and I was paralyzed from the neck down, Tammy would not leave me, and vice versa. If she was paralyzed and could never, so much for sex. No more sex, right? What are you doing? So much for going mountain climbing and hiking and taking walks together, all these things we dreamed of. I would never leave her because I'm in a covenant relationship with her that I made about 12 years ago. See, the covenant is the foundation of our marriage, not feelings and romance. Make sure you don't let this order be reversed. All right, let's close with this and then we'll do Q&A. I haven't seen any writing yet. If you get that question, make sure you write it down. I want some good ones. Let's just blow through some consequences of breaking the order because I want you to see there are consequences of breaking the spiritual order of dating. The first one is callousness of heart. Could you put up the next scripture, Steve? I want to just share this with you really quickly. Listen to this. So I tell you this and insist on it in the Lord, that you must no longer live as the Gentiles do in the futility of their thinking. They are darkened in their understanding and separated from the life of God because of the ignorance that is in them. Now listen to this. Due to the hardening of their hearts. Having lost all sensitivity, they have given themselves over to sensuality so as to indulge in every kind of impurity with a continual lust for more. You, however, did not come to know Christ that way. Surely you heard of him, and you were taught in him in accordance with the truth that is in Jesus. You were taught, with regard to your former way of life, to put off your old self, which is being corrupted by its deceitful desires, to be made new in the attitude of your minds, and to put on the new self, created to be like God, in true righteousness and holiness. Could you put on the first passage there? Notice the hardening of the hearts and losing sensitivity. When you break God's order, your heart and your conscience become seared and callous. I used to love to BMX bike. Man, I was pretty good. I had a Mongoose, tough wheels, this blue, red Oakley grips. It was awesome. Portage, right where Crossroads Mall used to be. You guys don't know what that is, but I do. I used to BMX bike there before there was a mall. And man, when I first started BMX biking, my hands were just filled with blisters here. But you know what happened after I did it more and more? They become callous. And I could ride my bike for days on end, and I would not feel any pain. It wasn't that the force with which I was gripping the handlebars was any less. It was that my sensitivity had been seared and dulled. My hands had become hardened and calloused. When you compromise sexually, you begin to harden your conscience. It's like when you have sex for the first time. Many of us in this room, when we first had sex, we felt guilty about that. Like we gave something away and you felt really, I shouldn't have done that. But if you have done that, as I did as a young man, the second time it was easier, and the third time, and the fourth, and when you've done it numerous times, you don't feel guilty anymore. Well, must not be sin anymore. I don't feel guilty for what I'm doing. Is that right? No. It's that your heart has become callous and you're no longer convicted by what you were once convicted by because you've given yourself over to it. Second consequence is the law of progression. And how are we doing on time? Oh, we're doing great on time. This is a biggie. This is one of the number one comments. There's two questions I get when it comes to sharing my story with people. Number one is not the law of progression, but I want to share it with you because it's a good one. Number one question I get, well, you guys never had sex. Well, how do you know if you're sexually compatible? I get that question so much. How did you guys know if you were sexually compatible if you didn't have sex before you were married? Listen, maybe you're wondering that. I see some people erasing their questions right now. Let me say this. You're a guy. She's a girl. It'll work just fine. All right? It'll work. You're going to be sexually compatible. Sexual intimacy has nothing to do with physical. It has to do with emotional and spiritual closeness. A fulfilled sex life comes from being emotionally and spiritually connected with that person. How many times have you seen people go before the judge and say, I'd like a divorce. We're sexually incompatible. I mean, come on. That's never an issue. Maybe their sex stinks, but it's not because they're incompatible. It's because they don't know how to communicate. They can't resolve conflict. They're not united spiritually. They're not growing together in Christ. It's an overflow. So that's the number one question I get. Number two question. And this ties into the law of progression, the moment you've been waiting for. I get this question, why did you and Tammy not kiss? That is so extreme. Do you think it's sin to kiss? Let me answer that for you. Once and for all, on the MP3, to the ends of the earth. No, I don't think it's sin to kiss somebody before you're married. It wouldn't have necessarily been sin for me to kiss Tammy. The reason why we did not kiss is because of the law of progression. When my lips hit her lips, I knew that my hand would hit her hips. And after my hand hit the hips, we'll stop there. I knew where it would go next. I knew myself. I knew that I couldn't make out with this girl that I totally liked, who was totally cute and smelled so good, and not touch her. I mean, I just knew myself. I knew where I would be going. If you can do that, then that's fine. Okay? I'm just giving you caution because I know myself. And I know most young men and women I've talked to that when they start down that road, it's the law of progression. And you know why that is because the flesh is never satisfied. Number one, it wants everything now. You can't reason with the flesh. Oh, flesh, let me just tell you that I know you're really hungry for more, but in 2 years, you'll have a marriage covenant and you'll be able to go all the way. No, the flesh is like a raging lion, man. When you open the cage, it's time. It's ready to go, baby. So the law of progression is very key. And also, God did not intend you. He did not create you to have to do that battle thing. The whole, oh, we shouldn't be doing this. I know, let's stop. And then start doing it again. Oh, we shouldn't be doing this, and then stop yourself. God intended for you to be able to go all the way, not have to stop yourself in a marriage covenant. That happened to Tammy and I. It was a glorious thing. There was no guilt, no condemnation. It was awesome. Number 3, a breakdown of trust and respect. I think I've shared on this in prior messages. I won't go into it, but when you compromise and you reverse the order, there'll be a breakdown of trust and respect for each other. It will destroy your relationship with God progressively. That is a very serious consequence of breaking the order, spiritual order of dating. Also, there's a breakdown of communication, and this is one of the worst things. And what happens is a lot of young people that are very intimate and sexual before they get married, they go into marriage and they never learn how to communicate. So when there's a disagreement or an argument, they just revert to sex. Well, I even heard, we like to fight because then we get to kiss and make up. Woo! Well, I mean, yeah, I understand that. That is fun. But you have to be able to communicate and work through the issues and then kiss and have sex and make up. And that's good. And that's fine in marriage. But a lot of people use that as a way to deal with conflict instead of learning how to resolve conflict through a pure relationship and talking to one another and working through issues. I knew a friend that told me this was an issue in his marriage after 5 or 10 years. Another thing that happens is that there's a loss of self-control and it reduces self-respect. One of the You can make sure you write your questions. This is the last comment I'm making, so write them out. We're going to, Sarah or whoever wants to collect them. Okay, I got this a lot. You and Tammy just don't have self-control. That's your problem. That's why you couldn't kiss her. Okay, listen. My theory on dating is this. You do not want to see how close you can get to the edge without falling off. Whoa! That's a long drop down there. Whoa! Hold me back, baby. Yeah, I like that when you hold me like that. Woo! It's fun. We're not going to cross the edge because we're spiritual. We love Jesus, but we just like to look over and see how far. Like 1 foot. It's like my little boy Matthew. He can't walk up and down the stairs yet. He can go down on his belly with his big can coming down first. So he likes to get at the top of the stairs and he goes, Well, the other day, I was in the living room. I hear a bowling ball going down the stairs. Boom, boom. I go, what? Tammy goes, it's a baby! I run. I was really fast, too. I ran. I see my son rolling. It was in slow motion. And he would roll like 2 steps, and then he'd bounce in the air, probably about 5 feet. Boom! My goal in dating was stay as far away from the edge as possible, okay? It's a great life lesson. Just trust me on that. Because if you get close, you're going to be like my bounding bowling ball down the stairs. Okay, let's collect some questions. Take about 15 minutes before we close. A little Q&A. Play a little Stump the Pastor. Please disagree with me too, okay? I don't want yes men and yes women. Write down a question. If you want to submit it later, then everybody will know who you are. That'll be cool. Just kidding. Just joking. But just feel free, man. Disagree, whatever, agree. I can't promise that we'll get to all of these. If I didn't get to yours and you'd like to talk to me or talk to Tammy, seriously, just let us know, okay? We'd love to do that. What's that? Yeah, let's record these, actually. Maybe we can start a new... Is it still going? Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, we want to record the Q&A. First question is from... Just kidding. As a single person, how can you know when you're personally ready to be married? Green light number 1. And what are some ways to prepare yourself for marriage before meeting someone? That's a really great question. All 3 green lights really tie in together. What I would say is a way that you can know if you're honestly ready is by having counselors in your life. Talking to those outside of yourself, as I said, including your parents in the decision if you can. I told you this last week or 2 weeks ago. A lot of you do not have parents that want to be involved in this or do not know how to be involved. I understand. I was kind of in that ball game myself. I had to do it on my own. But get some objective perspective. And then just look honestly at yourself. I mean, why do you want to be married? I mean, is it because you just always have to be with somebody else? That was me. I always had to be dating. Or is it that you feel like, wow, I'm mature enough. Emotionally, I feel I'm there. Spiritually, I feel I'm there. My parents think I'm ready. I know that's a big one because you're thinking, yeah, right. My parents won't think I'm ready till I'm 40. Well, I'm sorry if your parents are like that. But, yeah, check your counselors. Check with those around you. Financially, are you ready? That was a big one for me. Could I really support a family? As I said this to you 2 weeks ago, I knew that Tammy and I had talked, and her and I both shared the same vision to be very family-oriented, that neither her career nor my career would ever trump our children. The children would always come first. And Tammy wanted to stay home when our kids were little. Well, that's a lot of money, right? One income. We have one income now with how many? I'm forgetting. 6? 6? That's a lot of people, right? Can you support a family financially? These are questions you need to ask. And how can you prepare yourself before marriage? I would say really pray for the other person. That's something I want to start doing with our kids, is like praying for Emma's husband and Allie's husband, and praying for Johnny and Matthew's wife. even now, that God would prepare them over the next 20 years. Hopefully at least 20. No, I won't be that controlling with them. Okay, when you say to not be romantic before engagement or marriage, what does that mean? Can the man not give the girl flowers or do other romantic things? Is that something else? This is a good question. Next one. Actually, let me take this one first. You need to, again, something I said today, I'm going to reiterate. You need to really know yourself and be Spirit-led. I can't answer that question for you. You need to be in touch with your feelings and know what is too much for you. For me personally, and in my relationship with Tammy, I knew that if I expressed my emotions on a regular basis to her and told her how much I loved her and how beautiful she was, I don't know why I'm looking at Rich, but if I did that, I knew that would have been too much. So I tried to, as I said before, I felt a lot of emotion. I mean, I'm Sicilian, for crying out loud. I'm Irish and Italian. I wake up in the middle of the night sometimes trying to kill myself. So I'm a very emotional person, and I felt a lot of things, but I tried to not express them too much. I'd give her flowers. We had a date. My first date, I took her to the Gandhi dancer. Ooh, it was nice. I put on a suit from JCPenney's. It was ugly, but I didn't care. All right. I don't wear JCPenney suits anymore. What do you do if you are in an impure relationship, but you want to have the relationship be a pure one? Can it ever be purified? Or must you be in that relationship, or can you just work together on being pure? Did you catch that one? If you're in a relationship that's not pure, what do you do? This is a question I get in a regular basis, and it's one of my most difficult ones to answer. Not because I don't think I know the answer. I think I do know the answer. But the answer is really painful. And I don't like to share it with people because I know how much we care about one another when we get close. I had to go through this when I was a senior at U of M. I've discovered on several occasions, and I think there are perhaps some people that have been able to do this, but most people are not able to reverse a relationship that's already crossed a certain line sexually or romantically. And when I say sexually, I don't mean having sex, okay? Just to be clear, I mean just being intimate or being petting one another's bodies, being that kind of sexual. When you get to that level, first base, second base, we'll use elementary school terms. If you go to second base, it's really hard to go to first base. It was impossible for me to stop. I could not stop, and I had to stop that relationship. I suggest you take time apart, maybe 3 to 6 months, to pray, to seek the Lord, to get closer to God, and then maybe God would let you get back together. And it would be like a new coming together. For me personally, and with Tammy's relationship before me, we never came back together. But this is a difficult thing, I know, for you to hear. But if you really want to be pure, and that really is the desire of your heart, I mean, more than anything else, you'll do whatever it takes. And I think it just is separating for a time. It's going to be more than one day. I suggest 3 months, minimally. Maybe 6. I don't know if I answered. Can it ever be purified? Oh, okay. Question about green light number 1. A lot of questions about green light number 1. I thought I was hitting on something there. Just a thought. Are you advising that we don't date unless we could walk down the aisle today? Yeah. Let's say I'm ready to date someone now to be married later. Is that okay? Well, actually, let me restate that. Not today. No. But my question would be, what's later? Like 5 years? I would say it'd be very tough. And here's why. Again, understand why I'm saying this. The whole foundation of this teaching is Matthew 5:6 and Matthew 5:8. I shared those with you. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. And blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. If you really want to be pure, if that's your desire as a follower of Christ, it's going to be very hard to be pure for 5 years in a dating relationship. Okay, just let me break it to you. It's going to be very hard. That's why it's important to be able to say, I could be married in 6 months. When I started getting to know Tammy, no, I was not ready to be married in May of 1992. Wow, this is a long time ago. Gosh, I'm really old. Okay, but I knew in a year if God had directed our relationship, sure, I would have been ready. I'd graduated from college. I knew I was going to have a steady income. I was emotionally ready. I felt like I could be pure and not use her. I thought I was ready, but not that day. Can you love someone and tell them you love them even if you're not ready to marry them? Yes, you can. You can. I don't think it's wise, but you can. And the reason why is, and if you do, that's your choice. Again, you can disagree with me. It's not legalism here. But the reason why is because those words are so powerful. And I've told you guys this for 4 weeks. I'm telling you, when you tell somebody you love them, then that means a lot. At least it should mean a lot. And then when you get that close and you have to separate, and I know you're saying, but we're never going to separate. You don't understand, Pastor Nino. God spoke to me. We're going to be married on Aruba, and we're going to have a great life. I know, I hear it every year, all the time. Countless students tell me they're going to be married to this person. I know. But listen to me. And I'm not trying to make fun of you, okay? Because believe me, I was there. I know what you're going through. If you're not in a covenant, there's no guarantee you'll be married. I have a good friend who was engaged and broke off his engagement. There was no covenant. They broke off the engagement. What if they would have just said, well, we're engaged, let's have sex. And then there was no covenant established. So, yes, you can tell somebody you love them, but I think it's very dangerous. And I think it's wise to wait until you're ready to get on one knee. Pay with a cold, hard cash commitment. And I'll tell you what, any young man that wants to come to my little Emma and Allie and try to get up in her face and tell her, I love you? No. And so, man, it's good to realize that girl you're with is somebody's daughter. And we live in a sissified culture. Man, I don't have time to go off on this. But it just ticks me off. We got a bunch of sissies. Don't we? We got men that are sissies. They don't even protect their daughters. They don't take care of them. They don't hold them. They don't cuddle them. Tell them how much they love them, how beautiful they are. Let them go get used by guys. Man, I want to smack them. Sissies. It's true, isn't it? I know U of M would not like me for saying that, but some of them are sissies too. Did you discuss, it's true, okay? It's true. Did you discuss, and by the way, let me say this, and it resonates with little girls. Because my little girl, man, when I tell Emma how much I love her, and I hold her in my arms, and she looks at me and says, Daddy, you're going to protect me, aren't you? I say, yes, I am, baby. It's instinctual, isn't it, in a little girl? They want their daddy. Their daddy's strong. They want their daddy's embrace and protection and strength. And we live in a culture where dads have been relegated to the sidelines. They don't even take care of their daughters anymore. Sissified world. I'm going to have a sermon on that. You just wait. You come back. I'm going to teach on it. Did you discuss the attraction to Tammy, or was it just understood until you proposed? No, I discussed it. She knew. Tammy and I both knew how attractive. We were very open and honest about talking about our feelings in a healthy way. And I've talked to you guys about this. It wasn't like, I always look at Rich. Baby, I'm attracted to you. Aren't you attracted to me? Just let me hold you in my arms. It wasn't like that. It was just a healthy way. It was, I think I'm feeling really attracted right now. I think maybe I should leave before something happens. And it was just done in a really healthy, in the light way. So yes, we did. Last question, and then we'll close. I can't believe I said sissy like that. Sometimes I get going. It's true, though. Did God make a person specific? Oh, why did you have to ask me this question? You're all going to hate me. You're going to hate my answer, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Booyah. Did God... Okay, here's the question. I get it all the time. Let me tell you this before I read the question. Seriously, because you're not going to like my answer. I'm telling you, you will not like what I'm going to say to you. Some of you will, actually, but a lot of you won't. I did not used to believe the way I believe now. So when I was your age, I did not feel the way I feel now. Okay, so now that I've been married for 12 years and I've become a little wiser, I think that I'm right in this. You can disagree with me, and you will, probably. I've changed my opinion. Okay, here's the question. Did God make a person specifically for someone else? Someone else's soulmate? In other words, the question is, did God make one person for me only? Before the foundation of the world, that one young lady was crafted in her mother's womb, just for you. For that moment that you walk down the aisle to that soulmate, and you sit in the hot tub with your soulmate that was created by God just for you and you alone. And there's one person in all the universe, of all the atoms, Jose, and molecules, there's only one person. Well, I don't believe that's true. I don't believe that's true. And I know you're going to hate me, but I'm going to try to tell you why, in our closing minutes together, why I don't believe there's just one person for you. First of all, our quantum physics addict here, who will remain nameless, could tell you that if one person married the wrong person and another person married the wrong person, they had children, the whole space-time continuum would be ripped asunder. I mean, the whole world would be in turmoil if we married the wrong person. I mean, can you imagine that? I mean, if you marry the wrong person, your kids are out of God's will and they shouldn't have been here because that wasn't God's person. And then even worse than that is when you're in that marriage and you think this way and you're not getting along with that person and their breath stinks and your kids are up all night and you don't feel in love. The thought that pops in your head is what? What thought would pop in your head? I married the wrong person. I missed it. I married the wrong person. And that is a very bad place to be. My wife has a saying. It's on my Facebook. You've probably seen it. It's the best. I've read a lot of quotes. Some of them are uplifting. Most of them aren't on Facebook. Tammy and I just go through Facebook some nights and just look at everybody. I know some of you are scared now. Yeah, we've seen them all. And that's fine. Don't be scared. I like you to be real. I like to know who you really are. And that's why we love the Facebook, because I like to know people. And, man, most of the quotes are not that philosophical. But this one is. Tammy said this: the grass is green wherever you water it. The grass is green wherever you water it. And when you get in a marriage and you begin to look at your neighbor's spouse and you begin to look at their lawn and think the grass is greener on the other side of the fence, you need to remember that. The grass is green wherever you water it and fertilize it. If you get in a marriage and you work at it and you fertilize it and you water it, you're going to have a great marriage. Now, I do believe that there's like concentric circles of people that I could have married, and there's people outside of circles I couldn't have. Biblically, the Bible says that I am to be yoked with a believer. So I am to be joined with a believer. So obviously, if someone is not following Jesus, I knew biblically that that person was not right for me to marry. Okay? You see this train of logic? And then there was like these small circles, like I wanted someone a little fairer complected. Tammy wanted someone a little shorter, darker. Ooh, she got it. I got what I wanted, just a lot of things we won't have to comment on, but she just had a lot of the package I was looking for. But those were small things. But even in that small package, there's a lot of people, right? There's a lot of Christian women who love Jesus and fall into that light complexion category and who wanted to put family first and were more of a calm temperament because I'm really high strung. So I needed someone calm. To lower my blood pressure, like Tammy does. But see, there was thousands of women like that. And in that small circle, I could have married one, and Tammy could have married a man like that, and if we were committed to that marriage, we could have had a great marriage. And we do.